Oh, we're live.
What's going on, everyone? Blake Albertson here with B&B Lawn Care. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I have Travis with Onsite Supply all the way from Sarasota, Florida. What's going on, Travis?
What up, bro? So on-site supply wasn't something we executed on. It's on-site landworks.
Onsite
But
Landworks.
but there's a good
Okay.
story there for sure. Definitely a good story.
Let's and
But
and we're going to talk about your story. I want to hear I've heard a little bit here and there, but let's talk about, you've started your business pretty young and you actually just built them up and sold them. Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so the first one I built up at high school because like all kids that are like 13 years old are like, how do I make some money? So I got a yard sale push mower that had like no engine on it. It was like with like a flail mower. To this day,
Yep.
like still the best mower out there in my opinion. Like it was $20. Had a little grease can, looked like the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, and went out there and started pushing lawns. Eventually got a self-propelled mower and did like 3 or 4 neighbors' lawns, and then got a job like McDonald's at 14, saved more money. At 15, got fired, bought a truck, put an engine in the truck, and the day I got my license, I was out like actually legitimately mowing lawns with the trailer. Jackknife the truck, you know what I mean? Like all that type of stuff, like right out the gate. um, so, yes, I started out like high school, legitimately mowing lawns, like kind of the point where like I had like the X Mark Metro belt drive and got up to let's go mow lawns, pay like real well. He came and helped me out. We got to 80 lawns. And then senior year came around. We were doing real well. Started doing like landscaping, had 85 lawns. Few guys from high school helped me get it all done. And graduated high school. Mom and dad are like, yo, we think you should go to college. And I'm like, nah, it wasn't part of the plan. Dad's like, nah, that's part of my plan. Like, I'm going to pay for it. And I'm like, all right, well. So we went through the process of selling the business, ended up actually selling it to a construction company right in 07 before the crash happened, because their construction company got pretty slow. So they bought my lawn business from me, which is cool. Like put 50 grand in my pocket when I sold it. Had already like bought my first diesel truck and like all that stuff guys do like their second or third year, you finally like start making some money. And so I was 18 and I like had my first like little nest egg, like a little baby nest egg, and went to college, did some landscaping on the side. 08 happened. Had Home Advisor as my lead gen service, and kept it like real small throughout college. Like I would do landscape jobs on the side, like sod, make like $1,000 on a Saturday or Saturday Sunday. Come back to college, be a student for like 5 days. Come back. My parents lived about 100 miles north, so I'd go back to my parents' town. Do another landscape job, sell a landscape job for the previous week, make a few grand, and come back to college. The downside to all that was I started messing with biodiesel in 08 because gas prices went crazy. So I started messing with biodiesel, got really into it, and invested a lot into making that stuff work. And so like junior year, I was like, yeah, I don't have quite enough money to make it through college the way I want to keep living, because like we were going on I was having fun in college, but like we go to the Keys. We were like, there wasn't a trip or a vacation I wasn't like going on. So I was like, I got to make a little bit more money. So I started a lawn company over like between junior and senior year. Built it up the day finals closed on junior year, and sold it before classes started in August. So like a real quick like 3-month company. Made like 28 grand on it, plus whatever we did landscape work for the summer, and like I had enough to go through senior year. And
Right on.
finished senior year, moved to DC, came back from DC and built 2 more and sold them. So, and then I started the supply stuff like after that, like after I'd sold like the 3rd or 4th time.
So it seems like you think, or have demonstrated that there's more money for you, at least, just building up and selling them instead of just running them, right?
Well, for me, so I'm in an area, I'm in South Florida. I'm in Sarasota, Florida. We have a lot of, how do you want to call it? Competition, right? We could say foreign competition.
Sure.
It's everyone and their brother has a lawn business down here. But for me, it's the Peter principle. Like Peter principle is like you'll advance to a certain point in life, and then you'll kind of meet your abilities and your skills, and you'll kind of like max out, right? Like if you're, and so for me, like with a lawn company, I typically get to like 2 trucks, and I look down the road and I'm like, okay, could I run 3 trucks? Yeah, let's start a landscape truck. And then at the end of it, when I do the numbers, it ends up being like I'm making 20-25% with guys, and I'm managing like not, I love some of my employees, but I just didn't love all of them ever, you know? And so, and then I think I reach a Peter principle threshold where like I exceed my skill set. Like I'm not a good people manager. Like we get to like 6-7 guys, and I'm like, I don't really love this anymore. You know what I mean? And I look at like, all right, I could sell it and get like, like the last 2 I sold for 80 grand. So they're small deals. These aren't like $1 million exits, you know? But last one I sold for 80 grand. The one before that I sold for 80 grand. And I'm like, well, based on like 6 guys out mowing lawn and I'm doing landscaping, like I'm making money doing landscaping, but the lawn care side, I'm making like 30 grand a year. It's paying my bills, but I could sell it and get like 2.5 years of profit right now and buy like 2 more Bobcats and expand my landscaping, which is what I did, So like I just sold the last one, bought more equipment, doing just landscaping, which is a little scary because, you do most of your landscaping for your mowing customers. At least I did, but I found a way to like stay busy with leads. And I do landscape work. And then we were doing enough landscaping where it made sense to start like, we started supplying ourselves. We started supplying some other people. And then later on down the road, I got in trouble with all that stuff. But that's kind of like my thought on it is like 1 landscape job or like 80 lawn cuts.
Right.
And so
like, did you always want to just get that money and try to get into like bigger machines and things like that? Or was that like what you just found over time?
After the first one, yeah. Because the first one, I never intended to sell it. I was like, I'm going to build this. I'm going to build a house out east. I'm going to get like 8 trucks on the road, and like start going like a big company, Zuzu trucks, the whole thing. And then Dad's like, no, I think you need to go to college, which I mean, that was 10 years ago. So I wouldn't recommend it now. But like back then, I mean, like colleges trade on brand, right? And like being able to say like, yeah, I went to this school and I learned X skills is cool for the right price, Like I certainly wouldn't pay like money now, I don't think, to do it. But nonetheless, like once I sold that company and I was like, wow, I can get 80 names on a spreadsheet and I can get a check for $50,000. So it just became like, how do I get 80 names on a spreadsheet and a check for $50,000? And because I did it 4 times for kind of a fifth, because I sold just some accounts one time. So like I did it 4 times. It just got easier, like that last company, we did that in like 12 months. And yeah, so I mean, I think I've sold like 240 grand in businesses, and I had to mow a lot of lawns to do the exact same net profit, and the model that I run now is the biggest midget, or what I call the biggest midget. So primarily it's me, and I use a couple subcontractors, like a kid that's in the Navy, and then a kid that's he's in the reserves now, but and then a kid that's a firefighter. So I'll use like some guys when I need them, but for the most part, I currently have it like it's me and like my machines and trucks, and like I think I'm making just as much money as I did then, but like I don't have any headaches.
Right. And I want to talk more about that kind of philosophy, but real quick, I want to go back. What about because I know I purchased like probably 15 to 20 accounts a few years ago.
I remember that.
And we lost all of them, more than half of the clients. So did you structure it in such a way that, it didn't matter who the actual owner of the business was?
Yeah. So the answer to that is 100%. So the first company, I got lucky. I had a generic name. So it was Luxury Lawnscape. I didn't name it after myself or whatever. Yes, at the beginning of mowing lawns, those customers get to know you. So they're like, Blake, what's up, man? And then when the first day you have your guy mow it and they don't trim that bush, they're like, Blake, I thought you were going to mow my lawns. And you're like, lady, I got to build a business here. I can't mow every single lawn at some point. Most of your customers will adjust. you know, and the ones that don't might just need the pricing to be go up higher. Maybe that's not your customer anymore. You know, sometimes like you go along in life and you change your customers. My customers now are like land clearing people. They drop like several grand in a situation. My customers back then were spending $100 for lawn care. So, um, the answer to that, the short answer was I didn't have any drop off in the first business. I trained the guy for a month and I rode with him, taught him all the lawns. I had a system which, if anyone ever wants to hit me up like on Onsite or Trav at onsitetrav.com, I'll send you the PDF for it. But I just basically built like a book. It was kind of like what you'd see in like middle school, like your binder, and it had a printout of every account that I did, all the information, and then also had a spreadsheet that went along with it. So that when I sold it to the first owner, he was pretty well informed about what was going on. I had all the invoices in there. I had pretty much a file on every single customer, including the photos. So I just Photoshop the photos on there. And so it showed the side yard, the backyard. And so we were able to go to coffee and just talk about every client. As I moved on, one thing I had to do was obviously I had to give them the phone number that went with the business. So as I went into the second, third, and fourth, I started using a Google Voice number, so it was easier to transfer. I used an info at, and I always kept the generic company name. So if it was Environmental Associates or Planet Earth or Planet Lawn Care or whatever it was, so I always kept a generic email address and a Google Voice number. So when I would switch, and I would always have the customers communicate through that alleyway, I would switch than anything had switched up. And I was also more cautious on the third and fourths. I didn't get like buddy with the clients. I like went out there and marketed and like knocked on doors and handed out flyers, which is how you get 80 to 100 accounts. Like it's a mathematical fact that if you have a decent flyer, and there is like the difference between a good flyer and a bad flyer, and the simple flyer is the good flyer, the one that's not all pretty and stuff, the one that looks like it got printed off of a computer. But you put out 200 flyers, you will get one call. So if you get one call and you close half of your calls, you need to put 400 flyers out to get a lawn. Well, you can go put 600 flyers out in a day, so you can get one lawn per day for a fact. So if you want to get 80 to 100 lawns, it's going to take you 80 days, without knocking on the neighbor's door and saying, hey, we mow for your neighbor, and without them seeing your truck, and without them seeing road signs and anything else you can do. So it's going to take you a minimum, or a maximum rather, of 80 days to pull it off, provided you can also get the lawns done. Like I had some guys that like knew how to mow them. So
yeah, and that was 80 days in 2007, guys. Now Facebook, website, all Google. I mean, now you can do stuff a lot quicker. Not saying that stuff doesn't work, but like we're in a great time right now to grow, 80 to 100 clients fairly quickly.
Well, I saw you like with your website like 2 years ago. Ring hooked you up with that website, and you were like, "Bro, my phone is busy."
And it still is, dude. We're just in a great time. The economy's good. The internet's just booming like crazy. Everybody's on it, and it's easiest and cheapest time to market right
100%.
now.
I mean, and you've always got the drop a Craigslist post up and like see what happens. You can do a lot of stuff now. Yeah. So my goal was like put 80 names on a spreadsheet always, and that was right because 80 was right for us in this town, right where it was like you could mow it in a 4.5 day window, 5 day window, have rain, still finish on Saturday. Once you got to 100, and I had 110 on a truck, but once I had 2 trucks, so I can have a north end and a south end, it got more efficient. There's what we call windshield time. Less windshield time, the more trucks you have, because the more condensed the route gets. But I typically found that like once I got to that 80 point, I just had a hard time managing it beyond that point. I was also in school, so I'm like trying to manage finals and like a healthy bar tab and like, making sure everyone's bushes get trimmed, And so, but like, that kind of was like, and I mean, I'm the type of guy, like I got to have a right-hand man if I'm going to run a multiple person company. Like if I'm doing the multiple person deal, I've got to have a guy who's like a manager, and then I can be the sales and marketing. Cause I got like sales and marketing for sure. I can also go in and help you with operations, but like I need a guy who's going to like listen to how your cat died last week and you're upset, but like can still get you in a good mood and you can like get to work today, and that just like wasn't me. I was like, yo, let's get stuff done. Let's move along here. And And obviously, like if I want to grow a company beyond a certain point of like the largest midget, like if I want to have like, um, 20, 30, 50 employees one day, like I'm going to have to go through some personal change and adjustment. Like I'm going to have to learn how to be a good people manager. It's just at this point, I haven't really learned or mentored with anyone to learn how to be a good people manager.
Do you have any employees right now, or is it just you and the
All,
machines?
me and the machines and subcontractors,
Yep.
which I'm
Who
liking
shows
that.
up more
Yeah.
often, machines
Yeah.
or people?
The machines, but dude, sometimes these machines go down, which I hadn't had until like a year ago. I really
Yeah.
had like a good few years of like machines were always perfect, and then they started breaking. And I was like, man, these hoes.
Now, do you buy? I don't know much about the machine game. I just know
Right.
they're pretty expensive pieces of equipment. Um, do
They
you
don't.
lease or do you purchase, or
Well, they
what
don't.
is the best route?
Well, they don't have to be. My biggest mistake in my business was not buying a machine the minute I could have. So I had this opportunity in '08. This guy hit me up and he was like, yo, I got this Bobcat Stander situation. I owe like 12 grand on it. Will you take over the payments? I'll sign something. It's yours. Could have had a Bobcat Stander for like 250 bucks and not even in my name. You know what I mean? At the time, whatever it was, probably 500 bucks. I rented it from him just to test it out. And I was like, yup, this is what's up. And then I don't know. Like I just didn't pull the trigger. I was like, oh, I'm still in school. I don't need it. But like, the second you get a machine, you can do the work of 3 men, you know? So the answer to that is the first way you do it is sell the jobs, Craigslist, road signs, knocking on doors, your current customers. So I would use a script with a, and they're just crazy and they're never going to look good. They really need to be cut back to the ground. But then you also look at it and you're like, the house is 21 years old. Like this bush was put in like 21 years ago. Like it's served its purpose. And I would use that word and say, this landscape has served its purpose. And I would get them to be like, you know what, let's rip out the front of the house and restart, which would save me on the maintenance end because I wouldn't have to trim these ginormous, pieces of vegetation. So the first thing I did was just figure out that I could rent a dumpster from a dumpster guy, and I would have the dumpster placed, put some plywood down so you don't make marks on the road. Learn that the hard way. Put some plywood down. And then I would rent a little mini excavator and have it delivered to the job site, especially in college. That way I didn't have a trailer and stuff. And then I would just do the job, bring my blower, chainsaw, stuff like that, and wrap the job up, put it in my little truck, and then call the dumpster guy and call the rental guy. They would just come pick it up, And that was how I made my first $1,000 day. Was literally that was my target. I was like, can I make $1,000 a day? And I had a Christmas break where I made $1,000 a day doing landscape rip out on a nice house. And then for spring break, because they built the whole house, they gutted the whole house. This is 08, 09. So real estate investors just picking up a cheap property. And this got more prevalent through the recession because there are houses that were abandoned. So I just had a little niche, was mini excavator with a thumb, 250 bucks on a rental, drop it for 150 bucks, pick it up for 150 bucks, pay the guy to fuel it if you don't have a transfer tank on your truck, and that became the model, man. And I would sell it for 1,500 bucks a day. Dumpster guy was 300 bucks, rental was 200 bucks. End of the day, I'm walking out 900 bucks, And so that's the first thing you do is you rent. Second thing you do, you rent different types of machines, sell different jobs, have some mistakes, learn that way. Then you get an idea of what type of machine might actually work for you, and you go get the POS, total piece of crap, just total POS for cash, whatever you can afford. It's pretty if you own it, put some paint on it. Ideally, try to not buy a lemon, try not to buy a money pit. But my first cat was a Bobcat, 1997 Bobcat. It was in 2013. So I bought it in 1997. So it was 15 something years old. Had 1,100 hours on it, needed tires, needed a seat. Real basic machine. Never really had an issue. I had to change a fuel filter on it one time. That was it. Ran it for 400, 500 hours. And then I sold it to get into a track enclosed cab, which I financed. So I rented, I bought something for cash, and then I used my paid for machine as my down payment when I dialed in my model. So once I really knew what I was doing and I had a customer list and I had backed up work, I bought a machine for 55 grand. I put I bought my first cat for 12 grand. I sold it for 12 and a half grand, put 400 hours on it, put some tires in it. I mean, put more money in it than I made, and it make a profit on it, but it basically didn't cost me much. Got into some bigger jobs, had some home builders say like, hey, we're going to use you for our stem walls and stuff, but you got to have a track machine if you want these jobs. Like, we need a reliable new machine if you're going to take these jobs for us. And I was like, okay, cool. I got a lot of clients. I started working for landscapers, which was one of my big secrets there. Is like, I just started working for landscapers instead of selling selling landscapes. So I just cold call landscapers. They would sell jobs and they'd call me. Hey man, 2 weeks we got a job. 3 weeks we got a job. I just started booking out the calendar with other companies. So it came an easy model. Like, I had 10, 20 landscapers and they kept me booked. But once I had those landscapers and I was consistently working for them, then I used my old machine as a down payment on a new machine. And I didn't have much credit at the time. I just had some credit cards, which I used for fuel, paid them off, never had a balance on anything. Had, a real basic 2-year history of credit usage, because I didn't get a credit card until I was like 21. And that worked out relatively well. Later on down the road, we went like crazy with it. We ended up with like 3 machines all financed out, 3 trucks financed out, 3 trailers financed out, shop rent, house that we're renting, and then it got nuts, and that's like when the supply thing like bankrupted itself, because we just went too big too fast. The model worked out really well, and it became like add another truck, add another truck, add another truck, and then the second that model didn't work, it all just imploded, But to start out, rent, then find a POS, then when you're ready, you can get into a new machine. If you can do it cash, that's great. And at a good price, then you're ready for it. But it'll be like a year down the road.
Yeah. So basically, if I'm hearing correctly, the reason you rent is kind of like, do I even need to go this route? Is this even an option for me? Is there money in it? Can I do it? Do I like it? Then it's like you buy that, piece of junk machine cash, because then you're still not like in trouble.
Right.
If you're not selling work, there's no payment due.
Yeah. And
and then when you figure it out, finance or pay cash or whatever. But basically you're
go ahead. Sorry, cut you off.
Yeah. Basically you're saying like that first machine that you're buying cash might not be the biggest, strongest, fastest, like,
oh, it's definitely not
efficient machine. Right.
Yeah, you got that money by mowing lawns. You know what I mean? So like, you got like a little bit of money to work with, but I don't expect you to have 100 grand to work with. You know what I mean? You got your first 10 grand, you got your first 20 grand. And that's a cool thing when you get there. Like, and for me, it was in high school. I'd saved up 8.5 grand. It took me like 4 years, from like 12 to whatever. And like, got 8.5 grand, bought a truck, bought a mower, had like $400, and then actually it was $72. Like, it was like I had $72, but I had like some lawn accounts neighbors, made $400 real quick with my new mower situation. And then, and it's a process of reinvestment. And when you look at it, you look at like my first Bobcat and bought it for 12 and a half grand. If you look at a mowing rig, you got at least that on it when you've got it built out. You got 2 mowers on it, a trailer, weed whackers, maybe a chainsaw, some blowers. I mean, we're way over 12 grand now. So I looked at it like, hey, I can build a mowing truck to get going. And you can also, you can get going with real bare minimum. The last business I built it for a video series, which I've never released. I have some of the videos, but it's us going in and buying basically one weed whacker with the different attachments that change out, and then us buying a Metro walk behind, and then an open 8x10 trailer. That was it, or 6x10 trailer, and it was like the bare minimum. So you can start a lawn business like for bare minimum, but at some point when you're mowing 80 lawns, even north of 50 lawns, you're going to have like more gear, and you can look at that gear and be like, I could sell all this gear and buy a bigger piece of machinery. And because I'm not the manager that I like maybe need to be later, I'm just not a good manager. Like, for me to manage like 6 weed whackers, 2 chainsaws, 3 mowers, 2 trucks, 2 trailers, like there's a lot of moving pieces, And like, you got to be real organized, and you got to know like, all right, how many hours are on that mower? When do we need to change it out? Like, you're kind of chasing problems. This one's got a bad carburetor problem. If I have a problem with a Bobcat, I only have like one issue with one machine. You know, it's like, this Bobcat's down, which I will go rent another one and finish my job, and then have the dealer fix the problem. You know, so for me, I mean, because of that Peter principle, it just was an easy segment into like, all right, instead of managing 20 different pieces of machinery and 6 different employees, I'll manage one employee, because there were times I had employees. Now I find it's best to do subs, and I'll manage like 2 pieces of machinery, which is simpler.
Yeah. So real quick, what year was that, when like kind of your biggest moment when you had 3 trailers, 3 Bobcats, 3 trucks,
Man,
all financed?
like a year before we bankrupted it. So be like 2016,
Yeah.
2017, like thereabouts. Yeah.
How long did that last? Like running that big?
That ran like, we had a good 2-year run with it. Like we geared up, like we're at probably the middle 15, right? So in 14 we get that new machine, and man, it works out. It totally works out. Got a paid for old truck, paid for old trailer, brand new machine. Everything is perfect. You know, got a backup old truck, so I got 2 trucks, trailer, and a brand new machine, and that landscaper model worked. You know, so it was like, okay, well, we need another machine, so we go grab another machine. We gotta get another truck. You know, and um, so so we went big. We were also selling some sod, selling some mulch. That's really what kind of did it in, was like, we started building up these supplier bills. So you go and you buy your first truck of mulch, and you're like, heck yeah, baby, I'm buying it by the semi now. And my whole model was like, I didn't execute perfectly on it, but in theory, the way the model would work was, I would build an town, call them and get their mulch orders. Then I would order a mulch truck and then push that mulch truck out that day. So 18 pallets come on a truck, 16, depends on your state and laws. But like, 16 to 20 pallets come on a truck. I would have those pallets sold. We'd make $60 a pallet plus some delivery fee. I'd go flip a truck for $1,200 in one day. So now I'm driving around town and I'm making $1,200 plus delivery fees, which pays for fuel and tires. Basically, I'm making $1,200. But now you got to sell 2 mulch trucks a day, 3 mulch trucks a day. I could have just upped prices or just kept it exclusive and just built it. I just built it wrong. It was like my first time. Like, we went from like 0 to $500,000 in sales in like 18 months. So it was like getting to that point where it was like, we weren't a big business and we weren't really a small business. We either needed to step back and become a $250,000 a year revenue business and come home and bring home 50 to 100, or we needed to step up and go to $1 million a year and bring home 150 to 200. And it was like, well, I kept trying to hit that million number mark, because I was like, yeah, baby, let's do it. When you do something like that and you take on that much risk and you grow that fast, if your timing and plans don't work out, they don't work out. If it works, it works. But if it doesn't work out, then you're now behind the 8 ball, and you've got to figure out how to unwind it. And if that equipment's new, you could be in a tough spot,
Yeah.
And so we had some personnel changes and stuff too, and that didn't help at all, So every hurdle we had, we just blew through it.
Yeah.
But we were going from 0 to $500,000 in sales in 18 months. And it was like, we were, the last month of that stuff, we were doing $52,000 a month in revenue. 18 months before that, we didn't have a business.
Right.
So it was like, damn. Like, I'd been in the industry like for 10 years before that from lawn care and stuff, but I'd never been in the supplier side of stuff.
So do you think the thing that really, hurt that business was just the way you built it and the finance part? Like,
well,
do you think that finance part was what killed it?
Well, you and Lamarche turned me on to Gary V, right? And and Gary talks about this stuff. I wanted it too much too fast, dude. I didn't have patience. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted it now. And I wanted to make it happen. And I was also like 24, 25. I mean, I was like, hell yeah, man, we're going to be at jet level by 30. You know what I mean? And it was like, as opposed to taking like Gary's approach and be like, yo, you're 24 years old. Like, you got time. You know what I mean? Like, if I had taken it with a 25-year approach and been like, hey, by the time I'm a 49-year-old man, I'll be doing $10 million a year in revenue and bringing home 1.5. You know, all I got to do is just do the process. I got to put in the work. And, you know, hey, man, can you get us mulch orders? Sorry, man, we're booked. Hey, man, can you get us mulch orders? You know, and just keep on adding. There was some issues with the supplier. I mean, we have 2 suppliers in this town. They do really well. The second we came in and we started having some success, they dropped prices on us. You know what I mean? Like there was mulch suppliers we couldn't even buy from because they had exclusive deals. Like you got to be a little ninja in the way that you do that type of a business. And, you know, like when we had that connection with the landscapers, because the landscapers were like, yeah, man, you're one of us, you know? And I was like, heck yeah, you know, we're with you guys. And so for the first time, we weren't competing in landscape or lawn care stuff. I was now their main guy. And I would go to a guy that was mowing 80 to 100 lawns and be like, hey, let me be your Bobcat guy. And a lot of those guys I found would rent a machine for 1 or 2 jobs, find out they didn't really love it. And then they'd hit us up and be like, you know what? I just prep this site for me on Saturday and I'll show up Monday with the plants. You know, it's like, but yeah, man, I wanted it too big, too fast, too much. A lot of ego involved, a lot of like, I'm the shit and it is what it is. I mean, it was cool. Like, you know, it was cool to go out and like you had like, I mean, all our trucks were lettered and all that stuff. There wasn't anyone in this town who didn't know who we were, you know, and I had a cool little team. I mean, that was another thing is like the people management thing, but I had a team and I had one very, very poisonous player on it. And I had some switch, like my best people left. So like I had that guy in, my best 2 dudes left over the next 12 months. I replaced them and I put more guys around this bad guy. And then when it all came down to the end, I was looking at pretty much a team that fell apart and a tremendous amount of fixed costs and basically figuring out like, okay, I either have to restaff this entire company or just like implode it all in.
So
I made a first year mulching. Yeah.
So maybe if you would have been just staying at that one truck and turning away some other work, you know,
for sure,
grow a little bit slower, that it, because at least what I hear from a lot of business people is like when you're moving that quick, problems come twice as fast.
Yeah, dude, because if you look at your current, anyone in their life, today's problems were yesterday's dreams, right?
Yeah.
Like my dream right now is to be able to go out, start up a bush plane and have an issue with the battery. Like that's my dream, right? But when the day I get there, I'm gonna be like, Blake, the freaking plane, we're and my shit that wasn't charged. I had to put it on a solar charger. I had to stay there all night until it charged. Bro, it sucked. And you're gonna be like, bro, do you remember when you didn't even like that was the only thing you were going for? You know?
Right.
So today it's like, you know, we got an issue with the machine, it's giving us codes and stuff like that. Well, like, dude, back in the day, like that was like my dream, you know?
Yes.
So, but when you move that fast, then those problems become bigger. You have to solve them. And you've got to figure out like, okay, I've never been here before. And there's a little bit of an inefficiency to solving the problem the first time. Once you see it 2 or 3 times, you're like, oh, I've solved this problem before. I've done this before. I can do it. It's like I saw you were on an Instagram story about a year, maybe 2 ago. You were having a flat tire a week. Everything in your trailer would get flats. Okay. And I looked at that and I was like, easy problem. He needs an air compressor on board and some gel, you know what I mean? And a plug kit. And you know, you need to go spend $250 right now to solve your problems and take the half day off and get your crap correct and make sure there's no nails in the trailer and whatever problems are going on. But like, I looked at that and I was like, man, I wish I had that problem right now. You know what I mean? Like, because I had a track fall off that week, you know, in the mud. And I was like, man, this sucks. You know what I mean? And I had never had a track fall off. I'm like reading the manual, like, how do I put this back on? I'm like on YouTube. I'm like got crowbars and stuff. I'm like, this is going to be dangerous. You know what I mean? But also the cost of having the dealer come out and do it's like $2,000 to help me fix it in the mud. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I got to figure this out.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, those problems are going to come at you. And as an entrepreneur, you're in the problem solving business. That's what you do, you know? But I just wanted it like I don't know, I made young kid mistakes. Like I wanted it too fast. And I mean, at that time, I wasn't really comparing myself to anyone else, but I remember like having the first gooseneck in our town, like because goosenecks just got kind of popular around here. And then I saw like a couple of my buddies, a couple of kids that used to work for me like 8 years ago, like pop up with a gooseneck, and I'm like, bro, I had a gooseneck 2 years ago. You know, like it was like where the like that, where like the ego part of it kind of comes in, and then you go fully through that whole process. You bankrupt that company. You know what I mean? You literally go through a Chapter 7 bankruptcy hearing one morning, and you're like, and you just walk from it. You know what I mean? And you like meet with the tow truck guys. You schedule the time for those Bobcats to be picked up and moved. You know what I mean? Like you go through that entire process, and at the end of it, you realize like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like just as happy as at any level. You know what I mean? Happier that I don't have the stress of all the issues, and it's a clean slate. You get to like totally redo your setup. You still have clients, which is weird. You know what I mean? So you start a new business with like a bunch of clients right day one, and you walk into a new dealership, and the equipment financing is weird. I mean, you walk into a new dealership and rental purchase option a new machine any day you want. So you can, once you're in it, you're pretty much always going to be in it some form or fashion. It's like truth excavation. Like I was DMing with him, and he's like, I asked him how he started, and he was like, fresh out of bankruptcy with a backhoe. And I was like, really? He's like, oh yeah, dude, like welcome to heavy machinery. But like I want it too much, too fast. I could have went slower, could up prices. The main thing is I could have just had a long-term perspective and been like, we're going to be here doing this for 10 years. And I'm still going to be 34 years old when I'm at 10 years down the road here. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's any, and even if you're like 45, if you take a 20-year perspective, the biggest supplier in our town is like 22 years old, and they're doing like $15 million a year in business. So if you started now and you're 45 years old, by the time you're 66 years old, 67 years old, you're going to be able to sell a $15 million a year business. You're going to retire fine. You know what I mean? Like you're going to be in the islands. Totally fine. If you just do the work, you know what I mean? Which involves changing flat tires and dealing with crap and, not having money. I just bought a lawnmower. Like I am broke, bros. Like I got no money right now. You know what I mean? It's like I got like 30 grand in assets. I got like zero cash right now. But like next month I got 4 or 5 grand. I'm back. You know what I mean? And then you can save up 20 grand and you're feeling good. And then you buy a Bobcat and you're back to being broke. And like that's the game. But when you've got a model and it's working and it's not software, like because I'm taking in like a lot of software entrepreneurs and I'm like, man, these guys are scaling. I want to scale. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to use the word we're at scale. Like I want to talk about like that type of stuff. But when scaling for you is buying 2 more 18 wheelers and they cost $200,000, it's a different game. You know what I mean? Like you can do it, but Coca-Cola is also playing the same game.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
In Amazon.
So and that's scale. That's a real big boy scale. And they're selling like they start, and now they got a ton of products, but pretty much they got one product. It's sugar water. You know what I mean? They got different flavors and they're carbonating it and they sell one thing and like they're everywhere, So yes, I just want it too much too fast and easy credit. And especially like the economy's good right now. You got a pulse. You can get financing on something. All the stuff I financed always makes money. I can't really think of a time where I bought something and actually paid as a luxury good. Like I've never bought a sports car, you know what I mean? And if I did, I'd find like an old Craigslist sports car or something, but like, but yeah, like, and once you use a little bit of credit too, your credit lines get big, like real fast. Like you borrow like 100 grand next year, they'll let you borrow 250 grand.
Yeah.
So you can start getting like huge really, really fast. And in like my case, the team fell apart first and everything else started falling apart second. But I had a team that was mowing lawns 18 months before that. And now they're driving around in like $80,000 trucks, delivering mulch, being hot shots, handing out water bottles and koozies and stuff. And everyone's like, oh yeah, those guys. And like, but before that, they were running weed whackers, and I probably should have gotten to a certain point and let those guys go and bring in guys who had already done it before, So instead I took guys, I paid for their CDLs. I got them into big trucks. And I took guys that weren't really like, we started out playing soccer. We moved into hockey. And then I was like, hey guys, ice skating lessons, And I
Right.
probably should have been like, okay, so how much is Wayne Gretzky going to cost us? You know what I mean? And figured out a way to go bring on Wayne, or go bring on somebody who has potential of Wayne, but 10 years in the game, you know? And instead I brought in a bunch of like amateur rooks, and myself included, and I was like, hey, I'll handle like the other two supplier competitors and suppliers and the business portion of stuff, and you guys handle getting it done. And like, it worked until it didn't work.
Right.
And it worked really well. Like,
so would you have stayed at one machine and like worked to pay that one off, or?
yeah. So there is some synergy between getting two machines. So getting a skid steer and then a Mini X. You'll notice that 1 + 1 will actually equal 4. You know, um, But the best way to do it, I think, is once you've got your first, and it's a finance machine, let's just hypothetically say, right? So you've been doing it for a year and a half. You already bought your POS. You know what you're doing. You built a relationship with a dealer. You figured out that it's not about the brand. It's not about the numbers on the machine. Most machines are apples to apples, but it goes down to how good is your dealer. At the POS level, it doesn't matter. You're just looking for a deal on Craigslist. You're not getting any dealer support. You're working with your mechanic to fix things. But when you buy a new machine and it's on credit and it's got a warranty, it really comes down to, is your dealer going to warranty the fact that you messed up? And are they going to call that a warranty item, or are they going to void your warranty? It depends on how cool your dealer is. So I am currently at the one machine level. So going through the whole cycle, but I'm also in a restart mode, and very much so. If I were to add an employee, I would have to add a machine by default for the most part, right? Because my machines are too small to really carry the weight of an employee. Myself, pay the overhead of the costs for the machine or for the company. And anyway, so it becomes like this kind of catch-22. So the answer there is, I think it's best to buy a machine and pay a machine off, and then grab a second machine. That's a safe way to go. That's kind of like conquering a little village, getting things good, putting up a fence around it, getting some security cameras on it, go conquer the next one. You know what I mean? Like risk stuff, but there is some. I have some friends who've been very successful getting into one machine. 6 months later, 2 machines. 5 months later, 9 machines.
Yeah, it scares me to death, man.
I got one friend right now. He's at 14 machines. He's got the biggest developer in our town. He's booked for 3 years building neighborhoods. His payroll's 50 grand every other week. And he started out with one dozer. I have a video, Equipment Dave, Rental Man. He has one dozer. I'm moving it for him on my gooseneck. He had an F-150 and one John Deere open cab dozer, like a D3 basically equivalent. 450 John Deere, something he bought for 80 grand. It was $1,200 a month on a real sweet payment deal, 0% interest. And then he bought a second. He had a grading contract for a big guy, and then eventually the neighborhood guys were like, hey, we want you to clear the land. We want you to put the streets in, the sidewalks in, the sewers in, the electrical in, get it to where we can put lot numbers in here, and Blake and Natalie can come here and give us their money, and so now he's at the spot where like half his fleet's paid off, and the big developer boys want him to add another neighborhood. So he's like going to go get 6 more machines. That model works, or it doesn't. You know what I mean? Now, like, he's third generation. He comes from his dad had 100 machines before 08. And then the company, like, it was a family business and they dissolved it. The kid knows the game. So it's not like he's just like came from lawn care 6 months ago and now he's got like these deals, but you can do it. I mean, we're looking at a move now. We always finance our skid steers for forestry applications. Forestry is a little bit different than dirt and landscape. But we always finance the skid steers for the most part at this level. I think this next purchase we'll probably keep forever, but we won't use it as our main machine. And then we'll go get like a big daddy forestry machine, like a real big guy, and then just keep our little skid. But we're looking at a half step because that's scary. Like, I don't go buy a $250,000 machine right now. It's four grand a month. I mean, yeah, it's 3 times as productive, but I'm not really there yet. I don't really have a clients for it either. And so we're looking at a half step of like a little Kubota tractor loader backhoe. Something where like I can still go do some residential landscape work. I can still do a tree removal. I can still bush hog someone's stuff. I could add an employee. So if we are doing forestry mulching or land clearing, I could run 2 machines, type of deal. But it's a $35,000 purchase, And then, yeah, so it's all about your setup, and it's hard to tell what your setup, is. I mean, you can't go wrong having stuff that's paid off, right? You can always sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that game, that the kind of the forestry mulching and stuff, what happened in 2008, like when the market crashed? And see, the thing is, even with your buddy, like he's building neighborhoods and stuff, if the economy goes down, the housing market crashes,
He's on my couch.
They're not building neighborhoods.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
So that's what scares me.
He's got a plan, right? So he doesn't because he's a smart kid. So he's building a house right now. And his philosophy is, hey, if everything goes south, I'll get my house taken care of and I'll bankrupt the business and I got the house. And then later on, I'll pull a credit line on the house and I'll buy one dozer, So for him, that's either he's gonna end up being the guy that makes $1 million a year and pays $350 in taxes. Like he's either gonna be that guy, or he's gonna be the guy that restarts with one dozer, but he's got to pay it off maybe house situation. It's a crazy amount of stress. The same thing with like a guy like True Excavation or Truth Excavation. You look at that situation there. That either works when it works or it does not work when it does not work. It's 8 employees, it's big job sites. It's exactly what you said. What happens if 08 happens, right? Well, do you have enough cash to pay the payments for 12 months until things get going again? Yes, that's the question. Can you call up Caterpillar Financial and say, hey guys, obviously you know what happened. Can we renegotiate our deal? And that happens. I mean, that happened to Trump in the 80s, right? He was way over leveraged. He brought all his bankers in one building, and he was like, hey, listen, I can bankrupt everything out and everyone's left with these half-built buildings, or you can loan me more money and I will get these buildings done. And he's a salesman and they took it, So yeah, I mean, whenever you introduce credit and leverage, you introduce a double-edged sword. It can help you cut through things faster and get you to a spot, and it can also cut you. And when you're young, you think you got things figured out. Later on, you get older, and you're like, yeah, I don't really have. You have some things figured out, but then you so you just got to figure out how to leverage yourself. And it's like Warren Buffett says, like, protect the downside, dude. How do you protect the downside?
So there's kind of two different routes. There's either like the patient guy that pays cash and pays off everything, or there's your buddy that's like, we have more calls coming in, we're going to build a new neighborhood, let's go finance 6 machines today.
By the way, his credit line with Cat is over $1 million. All right.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Caterpillar is a bank, number 1. All right. They make machines that happen to be yellow, number 2. All right, but they are a bank. Like they'll finance. You can get a Cat financial account and finance a Kubota tractor at an auction. If you come in there, they give you a credit card. I had one around here. Like they give you a credit card with your number on it and all that stuff. I mean, they're a bank. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, there's 2 ways to go, and I don't know. It's hard to say which one works, because if you started a business out in 08, right, and you finance some machinery in 09, well, it's not going to get any worse than the day you started. Right. And the day you started, you're doing twice as much business as you did the day before, because you were doing nothing. So if you were that guy and you started exactly at the end of 08, that was the bottom, right? Or 09, probably the bottom. And you rode that thing to 2019. Well, payments, machines paid off in 5 years. You've had another 5 years of heyday. I mean, it's been on the up for you the whole way up. Well, you win, your Truth Excavation. Like, you know what I mean? Like now it's like, do you go buy a 336 for 300 grand, or do you just hold on to what you got and wait for another downturn? Like, that's what you're trying to play, because you can get to a spot where like you're at the top of the game and you can still lose it in one bad deal, or one bad move. Do you take on that neighborhood and add all these machines? But then you got to run the calculated risk. Like, can I sell my paid for machines and pay payments for a minute? And what are those machines going to be worth in a depression or something, So if you're paid for, then, it's a simpler way of living. There's no risk involved. But if you take on some leverage and it happens to be 09 and things are bad and they have it to give, I mean, sometimes, it was hard to get financing then. But, if you could get it in 010 or whatever, things worked out great. Problem is we're in 2019. Things have been good for 10 years. So, like, do you go finance something like, me? Do I go get like a $285,000 forestry machine and say like, yeehaw? Or do I be like, nah, I already bankrupted one company. Like, I think I'm just going to take it easy for a minute. you know? Dude, honestly, bro, like kind of still want to do it. You know what I mean? Like kind of still want to be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we took an L, but whatever, we're back. You know, you know what I mean? But then if you take 2 L's, like, you know, you start looking like an idiot.
The podcast gets deleted after that, you know?
No, you just roll with it. You just eat it. You know what I mean? So when you get to like 50 years old, you can be like, this is why I think what I think. You know what I mean?
What about what do you think about lawn guys? Like, because we're talking about like $60,000 machines right now.
Yep.
Like, let's take it back down to like an $8,000 and $9,000 mower. Like, do you think that?
I just
What's your philosophy? Everybody knows my philosophy, like my take on it. Like, I truly believe everything on your trailer should just be paid for, and
yeah.
you're not worrying about anything. But
I mean, let's talk about that real quick. You're in a good spot, right? You got a business, started in high school, right after high school, right around there, right?
yep,
All right, and then you built it up, bought some stuff. You got a good client base. You got a hell of a social media following. You presumably your phone. If you want to add 5 more lawns, you can add 5 more lawns. I would assume, right? Got the
yeah,
website, all that type of stuff. It's working pretty good. So you're in a good spot, you know, like you made some money, you put it down on a house, you bought an asset that'll theoretically appreciate that you can also rent later and buy a bigger house if you have like too many kids or whatever. Like, you know, so you're like in the American dream spot, you know, and there's no real benefit for you to go get like a Ford Platinum right now. You know what I mean? To go get like a Duramax 3500 with like 37s. Like you could do it. I mean, you could pay for it. It's going to be like $700 a month, but like, does it add anything for you? In
no,
the first year, yeah, but like on that 5th year when that warranty's about gone, you're on your second set of tires. You got a repair bill, and you still got 3 payments left. It starts to suck, you know. And so if you were to take it back, like getting into a machine is the best amount of money you can spend. It's the best investment you can get back for building a landscape or construction business, right? Like this stuff's heavy. Like your back is only going to last so long. You can
right,
for $8,000 on Craigslist anywhere, and it's got a 21 horsepower little Kubota diesel in it. You know that thing's going to run for a long time. Worst case is someone doesn't put oil in it and it blows up. You got $3,000 problem. You know, like you can go sell a landscape for $8,000 and make $3,000 and rent a dingo until you fix your dingo. Like it's not a bad spot. And then you've got a paid for dingo, you know, and it doesn't have tracks and it doesn't have all that cool stuff Vermeer has and all that. It's not like the new Toro dingo that like has an extension thing on it. That thing's like 55,000, you know? So you got something that instead of paying a guy, instead of paying a guy $600 a week, $700 a week, and then adding a second guy, you can just have a machine and save $600 a week, you know? And that's why there's an argument for financing a machine, because when you finance a Bobcat or something like that, you know, maybe it's $1,000. But you're also paying guys like 2.5, 3.5, $4,000 a month. So like, if you can replace like 3 guys with a machine, like why wouldn't you? You know, now if
right,
you're doing landscaping, there's still an element of putting out mulch and raking and stuff. You still need human hands. You know, you can't not have a human out there. But like at this point in the game, but like, you know, finding a machine that you can get into cash and then growing from there. And if you are a guy that's mowing, like a Kubota BX, I know it looks like a little trinkety. I know it's not as fast as a zero turn, but like, yo, it still's got a belly mower on it. You could still mow. It's still got a loader. It's still got a backhoe. Like it can kind of do it all. You know what I mean? So for a lot of guys that are like, yep, I'm mowing my 40 lawns. I don't want to get any bigger. I just want to do what I do. Like, dude, adding something like that, you can still mow with it, but you can still move stuff with it. And you're just replacing a human being. And humans are expensive and they have attitudes sometimes, you know, and
yeah,
they're weak.
yep,
You know, I mean, like in software, like sometimes you're like, yo, I need this guy as a genius programmer. But in like landscaping, like labor is labor for the most part. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? I mean, there's foremen and you need good foremans, but like if the dude just laying mulch, I want the guy that can lay 50 bags an hour as opposed to the guy that can lay 30 bags an hour. So I'm looking for like the best laborer that shows up on time.
Yeah, and you know that's kind of like what I've been thinking about a lot lately is like just more profit, not necessarily more lawns. Cause I'm at a spot where I have 2 trucks, I have 2 trailers, I've got all the mowers you can think of. And it's just, I don't see, I can't get the math correct to
Mhm.
put both trucks out on the road and just mow 160 accounts or whatever,
Right.
we can do. Like you said, man, it gets expensive. Like
Well, there's
it's
levels, like for me, there's like that 0 to 40 accounts. You're doing it yourself. You get to 40 accounts, you're starting to make some money. If you were working a job
yeah.
before, you've replaced that income now. But if you're going to save that income and reinvest it, now you got to get to 80. When you get to 80, you definitely got to get a guy after 50. You need some help. That's a lot of work. So now you got a guy. So now you're chilling at 80. You're back in that same situation you were at with 40, but you got some help, maybe making a little bit more money. It's not a whole lot better than the 40 situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The next situation up from there is the 120, 150 number where you got 2 trucks. But when you go to your 81st account, 85 account, 90 accounts, now it sucks worse because now you got 2 trucks, 2 trailers, and like a full week open. Right now, you as the owner should have trained the guy to run the 80 accounts. 1 or 2 guys are running 80 accounts. Now you're out building the next one. So when you finish your lawns on Monday morning, like, you either help your other guys finish and then you guys do landscaping in the afternoons, like, or you do landscaping on the weekends or whatever, or you just go sell out your truck, which is what you should do. You should just go do sales for until you got Tuesday book, Wednesday book. But now you're back at the same spot. We got a guy about ready to run your lawn truck, and then you got your other lawn truck presumably having no problems. Now someone didn't show up. Now you got problems because you still got to get your X amount of accounts down on truck 2, and then truck 1 is down in a way. You know what I mean? So, but these things can be worked out. But you got to put the work into it. They can be worked out. And then you get to this spot where you come into the sweet spot, I think, for small businesses in the lawn care space, where you get to where you have a 3rd truck. So you got 2 built lawn trucks. You up your prices. You get rid of the accounts that don't make money. You get them really routed tight. Every truck mows 20 to 25 lawns a day. And then you are in the landscape truck. This is when you get your 4x4 diesel. You're like, yeah, baby, I'm in it now. Maybe a dump truck, whatever. And then you're doing the landscape work / service calls, dealing with problems / no one showed up, so I'm going to mow lawns with truck 2 today, And then, but if you can work that through another season and be in that spot where you've got it dialed in, you've got your crew, they're consistent, they're reliable, you've got your accounts, they're paying on time, everything's good, you're doing a decent amount of landscaping, and you're in that spot where you could become the full-time sales guy, hire a guy to do your landscape work, and now you kind of got a business where you got some freedom back. You know what I mean? But do you have any more money and time than when you had 40 accounts? Kind of. It's like right at that spot where it's better than 40 accounts by yourself, because 40 accounts, you're done on Wednesday and you're out on the boat on Thursday fishing. You're like, yeah, this is sweet. Made my money. I'm done. But like the next step up to that is like, how do you get back your Thursdays and Fridays? 6 employees, 3 on each truck, 1 guy doing landscaping, or a mixture of the 2, 2 guys on trucks, 3 trucks. But you got a lot of moving pieces. You got a lot of trucks.
Then you got your taxes, your insurance, you're paying your accountant to do the payroll, and then I mean,
tires,
dude,
time 3.
yeah, I mean, that's just like, for me, I just think that's extreme, man. Like I love, that's why I like listening to the like people that have done it, is because I know, like, just managing like my couple guys that I've had, it's a headache, man. Like, and I had good guys.
It's a grind.
So I can't imagine when trouble comes, so
yeah, and then you're at that spot, right? So that's where you're at, right? Like you're this guy, and let's just say you're doing it because this is what you want to do. This is not ego for you. You're not sitting there at the bar like, yeah, I got 3 trucks. They got my name on the side of it. I'm never gonna be able to sell this business because it's got my name on, whatever. But like, so you're that guy, and you're like, no, my goal is like, what's your next step? Like, you and I both know you're going down to the Isuzu dealership, and you're starting to knock on hotels and commercial clients, and you need to sell a commercial truck. And then once you cross that threshold, just like forestry mulching, once you go from residential to commercial, you almost never come back, and you become a different company. Instead of taking care of 120 residential clients, you start taking care of 20 large commercial accounts. And when you lose a contract, you lose a fourth of your business, but you're out there getting new contracts. So you can't have one commercial truck. You need to have 3 or 4, you know? And you continue that path on. And if you got a good system in place, you're off to actually building a real like Marty Grunder company. You know, you're actually starting to build like a real deal, like 12 trucks, 14 trucks. You can put your mission statement on the wall, you know what I mean? And say, we serve, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, there's going to be a guy like me that walks in there and calls it out. Like, that 23-year-old customer over there does not give, or no, sorry, that 23-year-old employee running on your truck, mowing lawns, running your weed whacker, does not give a shit about your core values, right? It's not like a Facebook startup where you're connecting the world and you're bought in on it. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, let's Red Bull and sleep here tonight. You know, like, let's do this. We're freeing China.
Right.
Like, it's just like, we're mowing lawns, we're making money, and Marty, he's doing really well. Right. But you can manage that business. Like, that's like a big pest control business. That's like, it's a business now. You know what I mean? Like anything else. But to get there, and you got to map out the process and be like, okay, so the day you show up and you arrive in that particular spot, is it where you want to be? I mean, that's a good spot because you got your secretaries, you got your accountants, you know, you got your presumably maybe even a lawyer on staff, you know, so you know, now you've got like something going on, but that's where you can't be me. You know, you can't Peter Principle out on your managerial skills. You got to be a person that knows how to manage 40 or 50 employees, or that could go south on you fast. And obviously, presumably, you've grown into that person over time through mistakes, you know. And then you got to figure out, like, do you want to be that guy, you know? And like, I think that you either want to be like the biggest midget, or you want to be the guy with 50 employees, you know. Like, both sides of that coin are pretty sweet. Like, what you and I grew up reading, like Robert Kiyosaki and stuff. Like, it's nice to own a business that brings in cash flow for you, but you're talking about that size scale where you can walk away from it and it brings in money. You're talking about getting a business to 50 something people, you know, with processes, systems, branding. And once you do it once, you see these guys, like these serial entrepreneurs, they end up pulling these things out of thin air. Like Elon Musk, he can't touch an idea that's not $1 billion. Anything he touches is selling ice cream tomorrow. It'd be $1 billion ice cream company, you know, because he's like got to a certain level in the Peter Principle where like that's just his default mode. His default mode is $1 billion thinking, you know.
Right.
I just obviously haven't hit that like those thresholds in my life, but I'm also looking at it like I also have a young daughter, so it's like, well, you know, I got time. Like, I'm 29, like I don't have to go like, you know, to 50 employees now. And I'm actually looking at the contracting space, and I'm looking at a few guys that have a real good digital game. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I get big in the contracting space digitally, and I don't go sign up for a $285,000 machine payment. You know, like maybe I do like lead gen, or maybe I do marketing for these guys, or maybe I do like whatever. So I'm still in this space, and then I get big that way. And then if I want to in a downturn, I could go buy that $280,000 machine for cash or credit or whatever, because I got a little bit bigger of a model going on. But like, you know, as a business owner, you got to figure that out. Like, where's a sweet spot? You know,
Yeah.
where is it, like, realistically, like, really, where is a sweet spot? Because when you come in, you're like rose-colored glasses. You think it's going to be perfect. And then you get into it, and you're like, yo, we got flat tires, bro.
That's it. And I think I'm kind of like, dude, that's why I like when you talk about the biggest midget, because like from what you've told me about it is kind of like you're the guy that when that flat tire does happen, like you just get the hose out, you know, it's on the truck, you fill the tire up and put the gel in it, and you're on your way.
Yeah, you ride out, you know, you're good to go. I mean, I've got a pretty big Bobcat service rig. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty big truck. It's got toolboxes, it's got transfer tanks. And there are Bobcat guys out there, but I got a 100-gallon transfer tank. You know what I mean? Like, I can go out in the woods for 3 days and not need anything, you know? So when I do a 3-hour Bobcat service call down the street, pretty lightweight. You know what I mean? It's like not like there's going to be any real problems. And all that stuff, like, and in the Bobcatting space, like, the guys I see that are successful kind of look like that around here. Like, they got their triaxle truck, their tow behind Pintle, and their Bobcat. You know what I mean? And they do like one dump load a day. Like they're not running dump loads, you know. They can if they're slow, but like, you know, they've got their little system figured out. They do one project at a time for a week, and then they move on to the next one, and they make like 80 grand a year, you know, 100 grand a year. And that's their life. And that's what they do. And then they, you know, get their house paid off, invest in their Roth IRA, call it a day. And then these old guys, and you see them, they eventually turn in their late 50s, 60s, you know, maybe built a couple rental properties along the way. And one day they just stop working. You know, like they never really sell these things off. They just kind of like, quote, retire. You go see that 80-year-old man, that crazy-year-old guy. He's got that old Bobcat sitting in his yard that he could never get rid of, you know, and like you talk to him and you're like, that was the story, you know, like I'm sure he's in every town, you know, like, and the key to that, I mean, like anything, I think is like, you got to, along your career path, you got to be building passive income. Like if you don't get the whole point of quote retirement, one, retirement is bullshit. What are you going to do when you're actually retired? Like I'm going to drink Mai Tais, then I'm going to go to an AA meeting and be like, nah, I'm retired. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But then like, then I'm going to wake up like 66, 68 and be like, all right, well now I'm fat. I'm unhappy. You know what I mean? I don't have to work, but I'm bored as shit. What am I going to do? I'm going to go like scuba diving and immediately change my whole thinking. You know what? I need to hit the gym. This shit's hard. You know what I mean? And you're going to start switching it all up. And so I guess the goal is if you were to really go that way, you're like, well, I want to go do that stuff now. It's freedom, right? You want to have as much freedom as you possibly can, as early as you can, forever, you know, because the more freedom you have, the earlier you have it, the better decisions are going to be. Because it's not like, and that's the thing with machines. Like if you're committed to like 5 machine payments, or in my case, 3, you can't say yes to another deal or say no to another deal. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. If you own your stuff and you're like, nah, I'm just gonna take off for the month and go hang out with Blake, and we're gonna go boating on the lake and just hang out. Oh yeah, oh, it's a $4 million project, and you want me to do all the site work? That's 400. Yeah, I'm gonna come back for that. You know what I mean? Like you can do that stuff, but if you're not in that spot, you're like, yeah, well, I mean, it's $500 a day, but I guess I'll take it. You know what I mean? So you lose that freedom aspect. So throughout your career, you're always trying to get to the spot where you're out of that rat race, where you have passive income, and you've got to figure out what the best way to do that is. I think as a landscaper, there's no better way than real estate, because you're already taking.
Oh, I love it.
What, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you're in property management. Like if you change your whole thing from like I mow lawns, I'm a landscaper, to like I'm a property manager, changes the game, right? My last company, coincidentally, we sold it as a pool company, a fertilizing company, and a lawn company. I outsourced all of it. So like we were outsourcing lawns to start with it. We were outsourcing the pools. We were outsourcing the fert. And then when we sold the business, we got to sell it all, you know, but that was under the lens of I'm a property manager. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out for forestry right now. Is like, because when you're a property manager, you got a lot of business coming and going, but basically you're a marketing company and a management company. You don't have like 6 lawnmowers. You have like 600 properties to manage and like 2 guys and maybe a handyman. You know what I mean? So I think for landscape guys, you know, obviously don't get into anything you don't understand, but you're already, you know, neighborhoods well. You know what I mean? You know, like I know the backyard of some of my customers' properties from 10 years ago. I could walk right now and show you where they hose it. Like I could walk it, and I could also go back there, and I've driven by and I'm like, oh, this is a good neighborhood. You know, those neighbors here were good. Homes here were good. Oh, they're selling for 110 grand. You know what? I'd rent in here for 1,500. This might be something to buy. You know what I mean? Like, so the whole goal, I think, is you're trying to build passive as you go. But you're always trying to figure out that setup, man. That's always and the profits are in your setup. Like how you gonna set up. I remember a younger Blake who was gonna be as big as possible. I still have the Periscope in the comments, dude. And it's like I remember like showing. I was down in Naples, Florida, and there was this. I looked at this yard and I did a little Periscope, and it was like there's 20 trucks back there, dude. They had their own nursery back there. It was an operation. They had sheds in front of every truck. It said truck 9, truck 10, you know, the whole thing. And Blake was like, yeah, baby, that's what I want. And now I'm hearing a totally different story, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Like being that huge and that commercialed out, like that's a business model, you know? But you gotta, is it for you?
Right. And I see a lot of guys, and I've talked to, there's a guy named Blake. on YouTube. He's making some content now. And dude, he told me like his whole life like was crashing, dude. Like, cause he was stuck in that $1 million,
Business
revenue,
Yep.
and like he was making less than when he was by himself.
Yeah.
He's like, the expenses were crazy. I was working 7 days a week. Like he was just totally stuck.
Yeah.
And there's a guy locally here that I know pretty well, and he is just totally stuck. He's stuck on a mower. He's stuck working 7 days a week. He's stuck not making money. Like, it's difficult, man. I don't want to be that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are ways around it, and there are guys who seem to be very good at building systems. And they're not really lawn care guys or tile guys or pool guys. They're system builders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they somehow know how to recruit the right people, how to put them in a system, how to sell, that's what they do. They're good at it, you just have to have like Gary Vee talks. So you got to have a mad of self-awareness. When I was younger, I just didn't have self-awareness. Now at 29, I can be like, I'm shitty at managing people and I don't care. And I'm not trying to improve it. You know what I mean? And like when I was 21, I'd be like, well, don't you think that you should improve that? Like, yeah, kind of. But for what I'm trying to do right now, nah. Like what I'm really trying to do right now is put out my story on content, build content, build a lead generation funnel, and then figure out what to do with it. Am I going to staff up or am I going to sub these leads out? And so for like what I want to do currently, I don't really need to. Like, I just need to execute on what I've already done,
Right.
But dude, we got this kid that was following Periscope stuff back in the day. Like Lucky, dude, he is well on his way to becoming a Valley Crest man. He is well on his way. Have you seen his
Absolutely.
stuff?
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, he's killing it.
Dude, all he does is work, bro. Like all he does, I mean, I love it. He's 15. This kid doesn't have a driver's license. He's got like an Isuzu, maybe 2. He's got straight up real employees, And he's out doing the sales and lying about his age. I love it. Like,
dude, and like if for real though, like if he keeps on his way, like doesn't buy a house, like and just keeps working, like by 25, like for real, he could he would have a ridiculous business.
If he doesn't go cocaine and strippers at 25, you know what I mean? Like
or fall in love.
Yeah. Like if he falls in love, dude, you know what I mean? It's gone. But like, because you and I look at that model, like it's so delicate. You know what I mean? Like there's so people there. You got to keep Juan happy. You know what I mean? Like what if Juan rolls out with that Isuzu? Like you got to make sure things are good. But dude, that kid at 13 bought a 0 turn. It wasn't anything fancy. It was like a hustler thing. But like he bought himself like a 42-inch 0 turn with a little trailer. Started mowing yards in the neighborhood. And like people are like, his parents are helping him this, that. Like maybe not. Like I don't know how you buy an Isuzu when you're 15 and like not have some people involved. But like either way, the kid just did an acquisition. Like he bought another commercial company too. Like he's got something going on. But dude,
and by the way, when he's 30 and he has a multi-million-dollar company, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dude, that's gonna be crazy.
That's
awesome.
Doesn't matter, right? Like he's picking you up in his jet, and he's like, "Hey, it really doesn't matter." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean. But
that's
like,
exactly
life is a funny thing, dude. Like I like rooting for a guy like that because I'm just like, how big will he go? Like, will he become a waste management? You know what I mean? Like, what if he goes billionaire status? Which is awesome.
Yeah,
he could also go 32 kids and divorce. Like, that stuff could happen. And
so Lucky, just don't fall in love, man. It'll save you money and that business will double, bro.
Stay on the money, bro. Little Wayne it, bro. Money over everything.
That's awesome.
But I mean, dude, but he's also, I mean, to disclaim on that, but he's like he's out of West Palm Beach, and I've been over there many times. That is a commercial landscaper's heaven. Dude, those are multi-million-dollar landscapes. Everything's pristine. You can build that. It might be hard to build that out in the Midwest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That type of business for that type of a thing. So right place, right area. Same thing with another YouTuber. He's out in Palo Alto, like Silicon Valley. He's doing $150,000 landscape jobs for Google employees that are making $300,000 a year. $400 grand a
Right.
year. It's, if you look at that and you're in Philadelphia and you're like, man, it ain't like that on the east side. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find your model and what works, because you might be able to kill it on $100 lawns and get 4 trucks running and be crushing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you also
Yep.
get online and you look at other type of stuff. I did, was talking to that kid, and he was from Chicago, and like his whole thing was like, I'm like, why'd you move out there? He goes, dude, I moved to where the money was, bro. And I was like, that makes sense. you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
He's like, yeah, I looked at a map and I figured out where the money was, and I moved there. And I was like, that's good for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to have self-awareness, I think, when you're building your business, like 100%. And like, you're going through it right now. You're going through this one spot where you're like, where do I go from here?
Yep.
Because if you're not growing in a way, you're dying. So how do you grow from where you are?
Right.
I don't even know if you've got it. Like, you're probably at that spot where you're dingo ready, bro. Like, at some point, you're ready for that.
I would say so.
Tractor
That or yeah. Or if my first house flip and turn it into a rental property.
Yep.
Dude, that's what really turns me on right now. Like, I am so addicted. That's all I listen to. Like,
real estate.
Just real estate, man. Like,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But real quick, the only other topic I had wrote down that you talk about a lot, and I think you have some facts on this, which is pretty interesting, about Southwest Airlines and how they purchase planes and what planes they purchased and why.
All right, so the good people at Southwest are obviously more qualified than I am, right? So they know how to manage a business. But their little secret to success was airlines are very complex. I don't envy anyone who owns an airline. Nothing I want to try to mess with. As much as I love airplanes, I ain't trying to fly people around all over. But they came out and they ran one plane, 737, the very economical airplane from my understanding. It's a revenue maker. All right, it's kind of like the X Mark 36 belt drive, baby. I'm just like, yo, that thing is the way to go. 3-4 grand with a Kohler on it or Kiyosaki, whatever thing rides. But anyway, so they got the 737. They got a very lean model, so they got a part in stock for every piece of the plane. They only run the 737. They hire 737 pilots. They have 737 mechanics. They got 737 parts. Their staff, their airplane stewards, whatnot, they know how to, like, aisles are all the same, bathrooms all the same, everything's the same. So for them, they can run a model that's a little different. If you've ever flown on Southwest, you know that you get your boarding gate number, your boarding section 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then you can pick any seat you want. So you can sit kind of where you want. So they save a lot of that ticketing BS where this seat is $250, but the seat above you is $395 until midnight, and then it's $406. And no one really knows where these numbers are coming from. They're just being pulled out of a computer somewhere. Every time I feel like I'm flying, like, I'm just like, am I getting a good deal or not? I just have in my head, like, how many miles, how far can I go for like $350? You know what I mean? Like, round trip. So Southwest, they just had this real simple model. They ran one fleet. If you're going to run fleets, running one model makes sense. Now, there's some synergy to adding a skid steer and a Mini X. You know what I mean?
But we're talking mostly like let's talk about like mowers and trimmers. Like, so what you're saying is like the ability to only run one trimmer. So all you have to have is like one air filter and one fuel filter and
one carburetor. You know what I mean? Because that one guy who put ethanol in your fuel, you're like, you're an idiot, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that type of stuff. Like, I wanted to be a Century dealer because that's the best stuff ever. If you ever put Century in your equipment, if you can put water in your gas tank, put that stuff in there, it'll blow it out. But yeah, so we would run like the 737. We would run one situation. So we would run like mainly the weed whackers, blowers, all that type of stuff. We'd run one model of it.
Your mowers?
Yeah, the mower.
You only have one.
The mowers got a little weird because everyone needs a big mower and a small mower. I think you need that 36 to get through gates, and then you need that 61 or 52. To get some production done. Depends on your area. Those boys out there with those 72-inch, baby. I don't know. I never got a 72. Properties here were just too big or too small for a 72. You'd never get it done. So, it gets a little weird, but if you got two trucks, yeah, I had identical mowers. I ran grasshoppers, and I had the Exmark 36 was my number one for every trailer got an Exmark 36 day one. Get an Exmark 36. It's $4,000 belt drive. That's what we're gonna do. And then pull start. That's how we do it. You can't have the pistol grips though, because I like the sissy bar up front. I like to lean on it. You know what I mean? Kind of. It's like Standers before they were Standers. And they still make that thing, and it works, and everything on it you can fix yourself. And then I would get the grasshopper behind it, which in early days was the 227, so the 2 series with a 27 horsepower Kohler on it. Pretty nice little zero turn. Get it in 52 inch or 61 inch, whatever. But later days, it was the 430 or 431, which is the diesel version, which I think I way overbought, but that thing would mow some grass, baby. And it'd do it for like a half a gallon an hour. Like that thing burned no fuel. So, and I think I just wanted a diesel mower. But yeah, so later on, that's what we ran. Early days, we ran the grasshoppers with the decks out front, 7 series, which I still think for guys, maybe not a tractor loader backhoe, but man, those things like the Ventracs and those 7 series grasshoppers, something to look at seriously. Because you can blow some snow with them. You can do leaves with them. You can do some stuff with that's a legit entry level tractor,
Yeah.
As opposed to a zero turn that just mows grass, So yeah. I mean, that's the 737 model. The Southwest, just keep it all the same, and then the leanness of it is you're only keeping one part in stock,
and you're only training people on one plane.
Yep. Yeah. So your guys know how to run it.
Dude, and it's just, I mean, look at the prices. Like they're going to withstand a depression
for sure
for longer than like American, because people are going to stop paying for first class. And dude, they're like twice the price most of the time. It's crazy.
But the thing is too, that made Southwest, I think, really good is they had things that they just don't do. Like they don't fly the Atlantic. Like it's just not part of what they do. You know what I mean? Routes. Like they roll like Philly to like New York. They roll, they not those short guys. They got like Orlando out to Kentucky figured out. You know what I mean? Like that's what they do. And like as opposed to Delta, I mean Delta's running 747s and running little planes and puddle jumpers and all that stuff. And Southwest is just like, we're not an international airline. We're not trying to be, don't have any plans to be. I mean, maybe later on they'll introduce it, but like so far they haven't needed to. And I believe they've been profitable every quarter, including after 9/11. I don't know if that's true. Someone have to fact check that, add it in the comments.
So they're kind of like the biggest midget of the airlines.
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, actually, you want to talk about biggest midget? Richard Branson, Virgin Atlantic, day one, biggest midget. All right. Homeboy goes out there and leases a 747 for 1 year with a return thing. If it doesn't work out, I can return this thing. Unheard of until then, right? So no one had ever been able to return a 747 until that point in time, right? And Richard's like, listen, I'll do it, but I ain't going to do it unless I can get out of it, because I'm in the record business. I don't fly airplanes. I'm not a pilot, right? But I'm really interested in having an airline. It sounds like a lot of fun. He goes and leverages up the record company to go get into the 747 with the possibility of getting off of it, and ran one airplane, but it was a 747, right? And he ran one route, which is like UK to New York. That was it, with one plane. He flew it in the morning. He'd fly back in the night, vice versa, however it works. He flew there. He flew back. Flew there. Flew back. Super biggest midget. Because he was messing. The beauty of the biggest midget model is that you can mess with the big guys, but you can stomp the small guys. And you're not big guy committed. So British Airlines was big guy committed. He was messing up their fares and hurting their business, but they couldn't touch him. They tried to touch him in a lawsuit and going through his trash, and he ended up winning it. They ended up trying to put him out of business, and he ended up just getting bigger. But that was a biggest midget model where you can go mess with the small guys, but the small guys can't touch you, can't hold the candle to you, and you can go mess with the big guys and wreck their day up, and they don't really have any incentive to go mess with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you have the option, obviously, to always go smaller and downsize, or you could play the big boy move when you feel like you're got the chops for it. You know, you could take on that big neighborhood developer when you feel like you're in a good place to do it. Or you could be like me, like right now. It's like, do I expand or do I just hang out where I'm at? It's hard not to say I want to expand, but sometimes you just like Gary will talk about, like, exercising patience is a strategy.
Yeah.
You know, like I could hang out this level for 5 years and stack cash, wait for a downturn, and show up and dominate the forestry mulching segment nationally if I just chill for a minute. You know, if it's part of my strategy. You know
Or
what I mean?
buy 5 multifamily houses for the price of 2. You
Yeah,
know, like, dude,
yeah,
there's so
exactly.
much. Like, if you think about it, like, you could plan out a way to
Well,
grow,
like
like,
you and I
no
are,
matter what the economy is.
well, let's just say like you do nothing with your money right now except stack cash. And there's no downturn 4 years from now. We look like idiots. We're like, damn, there's no downturn. But you're just stacking cash, right? And we're just stacking cash. Like, you got a plan. You're like, yo, every day I'm putting $200 away. Well, coincidentally, if you do that after 10 years, you're way over millionaire level. Just so, you know, that's the math on it. I think you need like 280 or 180 bucks a day, something like that, for 10 years. No interest, no growth, every day, and you are a millionaire. So it is a mathematical fact that it's a possibility. All right. If you're not going to work on Sundays and Saturdays or whatever, you just got to make like 220, whatever the number is. But it's a
Yeah.
mathematical fact. But at some point between now and the next 20 years, it's going to happen. And you're going to be sitting there with $1 or $2 million, and then you play. You
Yeah.
know, then you roll in and you roll up, you know, and decide like how big do you want to play? You know what I mean? Because you go buy, I mean, you had $1 million cash, you could go buy a $500,000 complex for cash, 2 of them, or you could go buy a $5 million complex and have 5 years of payments in a savings account and flip that thing for 7.5. And everyone's going to be like, yo, Blake, what have you been doing? You've been mowing lawns for 10 years? And you're like, yeah, but my next play, I'm going to make 2.5 in one move. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and over the course of 10 or 12 years, it's like, damn, Blake did $3 million worth of deals in like 12 years. Like, he'd been hustling on it, but it might actually show up in fourth quarter at 2 minutes to go. You know what I mean? And
Right.
really, it's not like, you know, you can, between now and the time that you're 80-year-old man, like that play will happen. And if you did nothing but mow grass and stack cash and just research the hell out, I mean, I think there is a point where you gotta buy a condo and just start learning. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
you could certainly play at a small level and then be like, oh, like Cardone says, like, doesn't make sense to be managing duplexes when I could manage a 45, you know, bed complex and put a manager in charge of it. Like,
Yeah.
it actually makes a lot of sense, you know, because you can improve a duplex by adding a carport and some landscaping. That's why you should
Yeah.
get Dingo, by the way, because you're going to want to flip houses. You know, Dingo's a good one. But like, you can improve a 45 unit complex, and like, you know, you add 20% value to 45 units, dude. You know, if you're in at 10% and then you increase the property value 20%, dude, you just double your money. You know,
Right.
if you do that with a small duplex, like, you know, like all things, I think you got to crawl before you can run. But
Right.
with real estate's one of those things that definitely benefits from going big.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I'm loving, dude.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys on YouTube I listen to, but dude, even like Dave Ramsey made more money in like
And
2008 than ever in
yeah.
his life because he was buying stuff that people no longer could pay the payments on, man.
Yeah.
And
We should highlight too that that's a business, like rental properties and things like that. Like, because I'm very interested in that. My family's all in real estate. It's kind of like I should be if I was in real estate and wouldn't have the bankruptcy stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so at some point in time, I'll probably come full circle, and I want to be a developer. Honestly, like I would like to develop neighborhoods that don't suck. You know, fly in communities, like cool stuff. So then I'm still doing the tractor, you know, machine stuff, but I'm still doing the real estate stuff, but I'm doing it way bigger than like a normal agent would do.
right.
But you know, that's a business where if you got your first rental property, you still got a customer, you know, you got a tenant, you still got problems. Like Cardone says, he's like, here's what's going to happen when you buy your first single family. Yo, Uncle G, I got poop, man. I got poop, man. Got urine, dude. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he just goes through his funny skit, but you're like, yeah, that's true. Like you got, single family house problems. You got
Right.
tenant problems. You got, and obviously the nicer property you buy. I'm really into commercial property and ag property. That's why I like the real estate stuff. Is like, the ag stuff is like, there's nothing cooler to me than like buy 200 acres for like $5,000 an acre, put some cows on it, bush hog it, sell some hay, do that for 20 years, build a neighborhood, sell off 200 lots, like, and be doing a few deals at one deal at a
Yeah.
time, but be buying. Like I like that. The other spot I like is buy some commercial land, put up a metal building, put the guy that does my welding, he pays $2.5 grand a month in rent. Just give me your rent, and it's a metal building. Like there's nothing, like nothing's gonna happen to it. You know what I mean? Like it's a pole barn. You know what I mean? And then that tenant leaves, new tenant in. But when he has poop and urine and other issues, he fixes it because it's his place of business.
Right.
And if he doesn't pay his stuff, I've got ways to go after him, his business assets that might be sitting there. You know what I mean? As opposed to like, yeah, broke up with my girlfriend, I'm moving out. Sorry about your rent, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's like, but along everyone's way, like, it's nothing wrong with getting into a single family. I think Cardone said, like, he's like, no one ever looked back after 20 years and said they wish they had bought less real estate.
Yep. Absolutely.
When I sold that company for 50 in high school, there was this apartment I was looking at, a condo in town. It was going for 43 grand. It's actually in an area that we're looking at renting right now for $1,100 a month while we build a house. And I'm always like, freaking A. You know what I mean? Like I'd have been cash. I'd have been making money on that. You know what I mean? Like that thing right now is selling for like $150. Like, dude, I made like 100 on it, and I'd still made like 40 in rent over the last 10 years. Like I made 150 on that deal. On my first business I sold for 50 grand, I'd have turned it into 200 grand.
Yep.
It'd have been a different path for sure. But and that's 10 years ago. So looking back, no one ever wishes they bought less real estate.
Right.
But they got to do it like you're doing. You got to research the hell out of it before you.
Yeah.
You're learning.
Absolutely.
Who you following right now that you're liking?
There's this man, it's Concrete with a K. He's like this bigger man, and he's like outrageous. Like he just cusses all the time, and like, he thinks he's it, but he's got like a $300 million real estate portfolio. Like,
yeah.
And he's talking about how easy, like they were flipping this house and like a little office building space where there's like 8 different companies in it. And he's like, clean up this landscaping. Like, and it's what we do. Like, it's so simple. Like he's like, replace that light, throw a new lock on there, and let's put some beds in here, and let's, we're done. Let's rent it out. Mm-hmm. Throw some fresh paint on, get some house cleaners over here, and that's it. And I'm like, see, he's playing at a different level for like where we're at. Like if we were on our first deal, he'd be like, well, let's save the money. Let's take a week to clean it, and then we'll take 3 weeks to paint it, and then we'll take a week to do the landscaping. And he's like, let's just get it done. We'll put it, start renting it out next week.
Right.
So, but he's doing that, every single day to a different building. So it's like, I just think it's cool to watch what somebody doing that much.
Those numbers too, as opposed to financing a machine, you drop 10% down on a situation, and you've got the rent covered in the payment covered in the rent. And obviously, if you don't have a renter, you need to have that figured out. Where you're going to pull the money from. But over time, that rent's going to go up. That payment's going to stay fixed. That property's going to appreciate. But you got your down payment back after a year and a half, 2 year, 3 year, type of situation. I remember watching Kiyosaki, and he would talk about buying a property, improving the property, refinancing the property, taking his money out. He's got his money back, and now he's got the property fully financed. Now that, things can go south on you and stuff like that, you're still owed on the note, but he put a tenant in there. They're paying that note off 20 years down the road. Nobody ever wished they bought less real estate. There's definitely a strategy. I think as a lawn care guy, I mean, we saw Lamarche is moving that way. He's now a real estate agent, still has his lawn care business, got a guy running it. He kept it 50 accounts, and he's got one guy running it. And his accounts are very heavily priced. And he's sitting in Sandy Springs, Georgia, which is a very, very nice place to live. And they're very nice homes. Everyone there works for Mercedes corporate, all that type of stuff. And he's got a good client list, got a little business going on, and now he's starting his real estate thing. And he's also got a couple rental properties too that he's bought over the last 10 years. So he's already in the game. But from lawn care over into real estate segment, like, makes sense. It's, you already got 80 people on your list that you can work with. Like 80 homes that could sell, that you could, help rent out, like, that you can work with. It's a very low cost business. And I like it a lot. Like,
I just think it's like, you just have to think and find ways. Like when you're 60 and you've done this your whole life, you're not going to have the body, the back to be out there trimming a lawn. Like that can't be where the money's coming from. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
you could build a strategy. Like, it's all about your strategy. You got to have the thing that kills me is when you see a lawn guy and he's been around that truck. I see this one dude, he's got this Ford and that bed is crunched in. It drives me nuts. Do you see those Fords where the bed is revert? Like I don't even know how to say it. Like the front of the bed next to the cab is like down.
Yeah.
Like they have like bad things with their body mounts or something. Like they just break and, like, you know what I mean? It drives me freaking up the walls. This truck's a mess. He's been mowing lawns since I was a kid here. Same truck. I'm either like, that guy's a multi-millionaire, but I look at his situation. He's got like McDonald's stuff all in his dash and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he's killing it. You know what I mean? But if you've got a strategy, you can stay where you are in life. If you've got a very, very good strategy of what you're doing and you're focused on the money, like how are you managing your money and your time? And are you doing the best thing? Because I've thought about, like, with the forestry machines, and Sarah and I talk about it, like, dude, what if we bought some freaking power washers and went out there power washing? I might make more money every day power washing and have like a paid for rig and have like nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't, you can make money doing anything. You make money power washing. You can make, you don't need to go finance some forestry machines to go make $3,000 a day and, have that type of thing going on. So I think as long as you've got your strategy rocking.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what I love, man. Like, and I talk to a lot of guys that have been in this business for a long time, and that's kind of the saying. They're like, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done this. So I'm not 59, on a mower or on a trimmer.
Like, they went fire department. That's what I was considering. I got to pass some tests. But I'm like, I like the entrepreneurial route. I like building content. And that's very me. But like, I got some buddies that are firefighters, and it's an 8-day a month or the 8-day, 9-day a month gig. And you're like, wouldn't mind hanging with the boys 8-9 days a month, busting some people out of some flipped over cars. And after 25 years of that, having full retirement. Like, that's a strategy. I don't think it should be your only strategy, because the state of Florida goes bankrupt, and which they could with all these pensions. Like, people in California will see it first. Like, you got a pension in California, good luck in 10 years. I don't think you're going to get any money. But you got to have your strategy, and you got to figure out where it's at. But I think it goes back to, like, freaking having self-awareness and being content to a level. Like, you want to have growth, but like in my bankruptcy story, like, you got to have, like, you got time, man. You got time. You don't have to be crazy. I mean, but there's many ways to do it. You could go like Lucky and build a big commercial outfit, sell it, and buy your first building paid for cash. You're out. Like, that's a strategy too. And once you lock on your strategy, you just got to focus like hell on what it is that you're doing. I'm at a weird spot. I don't have a freaking strategy right now. I do, and I don't. I'm in such a weird spot right now, because it's like, just got engaged. Going to sell her house.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So you got married as well?
Yes. So
if we both end up divorced later on in life, you come to my lake house and we rock out. We never go back. Yeah, that's my fail out plan. I already told her, I was like, hey, in the prenup, just so you know, like, all the boats are, I get the boats. But like, you gotta, like, got off my train of thought there a little bit.
Your strategy.
Well, so the thing is, we're in a spot where, like, with the proceeds from selling what she's got and selling what I've got, we're in this weird spot like where we could just have a small little house that we build and like everything's paid for and we have no bills and we're just like, cool, we've got no bills and we've got like 50 grand in cash. And maybe I just get like a little tractor and do some like fencing jobs and build content. And like, it's not super glamorous, but we also have no bills. So what does that look like 10 years from now? You know, like how massive can you go in 10 years if that's your situation? And then we're also looking at the flip side of it of like, well, what if we took a construction loan, built a 3,000 square foot house, the property was worth 750 grand and we owe 250 on the loan? Well, that's not a terrible strategy either. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just like, you know, which one are you going to be at? And if I got sick in a couple of years or something like that, I'd be like, damn, I'm really glad I took the paid for route. You know what I mean? If something you ever had a real health issue and you really needed to take some time off to get right, you know, I think about that a lot. Lawn care would always freak me out. I'm like, what if I broke my leg right now? You know, what if I broke an ankle? Guys would go like, you know, 4-wheeling and stuff. I'd always go easy because I was like, yo, I need myself right now. And you're kind of what you were talking about. There's ways, you know, you can get AFLAC insurance. You know, you can hedge against it. And most guys don't. I currently don't. You know what I mean? But we're in a situation where we got enough cash right now where I could pretty much weather some injury like that. But and I'm young too. I'm like 29, so I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about things. You know what I mean? I'm not drinking any alcohol this month. It's January. You know what I mean? Like things are good. But it's strategy and it's just being at peace with all your stuff wherever you are. And like my buddy that's got all those millions of dollars in machines, like he's very much at peace. Like he's very okay with where he is, you know, which is good because he's very much like, hey, I'll close up shop tomorrow and bankrupt this crap out. I saw my grandfather do it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I mean? And like he doesn't really care, but he doesn't have much ego either. He's not sitting there telling everyone he's got 14 machines. Only person who says that is me. I'm the only guy that's like, yo, it's pretty awesome, pretty crazy, pretty scary. And he's just like, you know how it is with machines. Like you get good at running them and it's boring as hell. You know what I mean? And you're like, bro, you're building neighborhoods. And he's like, yeah, but I built 4 neighborhoods, man. It's the same crap. I'm just waiting on freaking electric companies to get in their freaking wires. And I got to drive over there tomorrow morning because these idiots don't have it done. And you're like, bro, you're building neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Like we were in 5th grade together. Like, you know, like I remember like sharing homework with you, like in high school. Like, bro, we were boys. You know, you're building neighborhoods. And he's like, yeah, same shit, different day. You know what I mean? So it's just funny because like you go talk to anyone, like yesterday's dreams are today's problems.
Right. Hey, you just gotta do what you want, man. Like some people want to be mowing until the day they die. Like I get it, but I just know that my body, like I already have aches and pains. Like when I'm 60, it's not gonna be on a trimmer. Like there's no way.
You gotta wear ear protection, dude. Those guys that are out there not wearing ear protection, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? That's the scariest thing, ear and sun. Because over 20 years, it's going to mess with you. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
No, I'm at that same spot. I'm 29, running the Bobcats every day. And I'm like, man, I'm in a cab sitting down. I literally am
sitting in a nice, comfy chair with air conditioning and stuff. Yeah.
Dude, what happens is, bro, I'm telling you, you get like, you start to get to this, like, you know, you go out Friday night, you just Saturday, maybe you go to the gym, but you work. So you're not really going to the gym. And bro, what happens is like a year goes by and you like, you get out of bed and you're like, oh, I haven't been really stretching my stuff out. And you look at these guys at like 50s and they're like, how you doing? And you're like, brother, you need to go to some yoga, get that thing worked out. But they've been like crunched over, you know, and their body is formed to that shape because they're running a dump truck, running a Bobcat. And it's like, I get it. You're tired at the end of the day, but you got to find a way to get a real physical thing, like whatever it is for you, jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, basic working out with a trainer. Like you got to have something where you're taking care of your body because it's a better situation than being out landscaping for sure because you're in a machine. But it's still really easy to go into McDonald's, pick up a Big Mac, really easy to drink Bud Light after work, and really easy to be fat like 4 or 5 years down the road, aches and pains at 23, 25, 32 years old. And you're like, wow, I am ridiculously unhealthy. You know, at least when you're in lawn care, you're somewhat keeping the weight down in the summer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're
Yeah.
burning the calories and it's good for you. I noticed a lot of weight gain. I could never break 170, so I was actually like, heck yeah, baby, I broke 170. But like, I noticed like I put on like 20 pounds bobcatting stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's not just bobcatting, but like, you know, it's eating food on the road and like drinking beer at home, you know? And then being like, yup, I need to change this real quick because I'm 29 years old. There's stuff I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
I want to look good. You know what I mean? So, you know, I do, bro. Like, if I want to get huge on YouTube and stuff like that, like I want to be in a decent, like we had this TV company come down and film some stuff, and I was like looking at the footage, and I'm like, I'm looking a little pudgy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all right, for real, I'm ordering salad right now. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't at the spot where I was like, I'm going to the gym right now, but I was like, yup, salad, no beer. You know, you know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
But you know, I mean, that stuff creeps up on you, and so I guess to wrap things up, figure out your strategy, stick to it, research the hell out of it, like you are doing real estate. I'm sure it'll be a matter of time till you do. You've already done one deal for your own house, so
yeah,
you know, sure it'll be a matter of time until you start playing with that. And when you got a strategy, I think it pays to stick to it when you got a real clear strategy.
right.
I think there's an element though when you're young, you're just trying to figure shit out and you really don't know. It's like me in the JIT supply days. It was like didn't really know what we were doing. There was nothing on YouTube about financing machines. I searched it. There was nothing. You know what I mean? There was no advice out there, so it was kind of like, all right. And we took a business from 0 to 550,000 in sales in 18 months, which is cool until it imploded, you know. And I could have solved it with some patience,
Right.
you know.
So be patient and find a strategy. That's the end of it, man.
Find a strategy, man. You know, and then dive into your content. Like dive into like find those. We're in a cool spot where like I'm on YouTube all day and I literally just axe it off. You know what I mean? Like it's off so I don't drain my battery. And I just listen to videos for like all day. And but you can get caught in that too, where you've consumed 40 hours of content and you haven't made a single blog post. You haven't made a single video, you know, you haven't done a single step into looking at some real estate, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or talking to a banker, you know? So you've got to, you know, figure out how you can do that. And entrepreneurship is lonely as hell, man. You're in a weird spot. You know, you go, like I was saying earlier, you bought a 0-turn mower, you tell your friends you're broke, and they're like, what's your problem? Thought you had your own business. And you're like, I do. Broke. It is what it is, boys. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be broke again.
Right.
And you're going to save up money, buy a real estate deal, you're going to be broke again. And it's just this constant, you know, until you get along the road and you got your passive income and you got your cash flow coming and, you know, you're in that spot where you're trying to get to. But when you're young and you start with zero, you better believe the first 300 grand you get, you're going to put it all back in.
Absolutely.
You know, like you 300 grand, you're broke, man. You're poor. You don't have money to go buy a freaking Jeep Wrangler if you only are worth 300 grand. You don't have the money. You know what I mean? Like that 10 grand needs to go to a dingo or something that will bring you your 10 grand back. You know, you ain't rich enough to go drop 10 grand and have 5 of that grand disappear next year. You poor. You're like 300 grand. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but you got people out there who think it's like the opposite. You know what I mean? And then that's fine. You're just going to stay at your current lifestyle forever. Because the only way you're getting out of anything you're currently doing is by investing your money and getting your money to work for you. Until your money works for you, you're always going to work for it.
That's where I'm at, man.
Me too, bro.
That's the thinking, bro. That's the thinking. So, well, sweet, man. How can people find you? Where are you at on Instagram and YouTube, man?
Everything's Onsite Trav. So Onsite Trav, Onsite, YouTube, Instagram. Those are the big players right now. Used to be the biggest guy on Periscope, but Periscope is kind of dead.
He was never the biggest guy on Periscope, but He likes to think so. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube at B&B Lawn Care. You can find Travis at Onsite Trav.
Talk to Stripe Nation, and thank you guys for tuning in. You got a lot of lawn care dudes that follow you, man. So it's pretty exciting because it actually really is a little mini nation of lawn care dudes. Like there's a lot of them out there. I like what you're doing with the podcast and creating content and keeping in mind that these guys can be listening all day long. So you could bust one of these out every day and it would be really helpful. Even for me in the Bobcat, like guys that do lawn care it's a singles game. You feel like it's just you, but there are thousands of people around the country that are doing this and they are all in, you're in their earbud, dude. And so by putting this information out, don't be that 50-year-old guy with that bed that drives me crazy.
Absolutely. Well, sweet, man. It was great talking to you, man. This is podcast number 2 with Onsite Trav. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you later.